I'm on an island around the size of Washington, D.C. in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. The nearest town is 2,600 kilometers away, and the nearest continent is 3,500. Yet 8,000 people actually live here. And their ancestors built these massive stone statues. This is Rapa Nui. Welcome to Easter Island. I'm currently in Hanga Roa, which is the capital and only town on this remote island, located quite literally in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. In front of me is one of the nearly 1,000 Moai statues, which dot this beautifully fascinating and mysterious island. And over there is one of the few beaches that this island has, with a few locals going for a swim. But while we will be seeing many of these statues today, the main reason I'm actually here is to try to understand what life is like for the 8,000 locals who live in the most remote town on planet Earth, and why that population has more than doubled in the last 20 years. So, since 95% of this island lives right here in the town of Hanga Roa, I wanted to take you around the town center and tell you a little bit about just how remote this island really is. I'm not sure how many of these statues on the side of the road are old relics and how many have been recreations. It does appear like this community here is very artistic, although I am quite sure this one right here is a recreation. But the actual island is a small 164 square kilometer island which formed from volcanic activity around 700,000 years ago. It consists of 3 separate principal volcanoes, the highest of which is around 500 meters tall. This one up here. Now these statues appear they might be pretty old, as they have some wear and tear on them. But the closest landmass to Easter Island is a place called Islas Salas y Gomez. It's a completely uninhabited 0.15 square kilometer island. So it's basically a tiny rock, and that rock is still 415 kilometers away. Yes, this is a very, very isolated island. Here you can see just how volcanic the island really is. Very fresh black rock and not much sand. Only 2 beaches on the entire island. But the closest inhabited settlement is a place called Pitcairn Island. It's a UK dependency with around 50 year-round residents, give or take. It's also potentially the most difficult to access human settlement on planet Earth. It's close to 700 kilometers away from the nearest town, and it's such a small island that you can only access it by boat. But even with how isolated Pitcairn Island is, Easter Island is an additional 1,931 kilometers away from it. Now, the closest town with a population over 100 residents is a place called Rikitea on the island of Mangareva in French Polynesia. That town is 2,606 kilometers away. And speaking of Polynesia, here we have a restaurant called Polynesian Coffee and Tea. Despite Easter Island's extreme remoteness, tourism is a huge part of the economy here, and many tourists do visit in the once daily planes that arrive from Santiago, Chile. But the nearest continental point is somewhere in central Chile, located 3,512 kilometers away. And Santiago, the capital of Chile, is 3,767 kilometers away. So Easter Island, which is a part of Chile, is almost as far from its capital, Santiago, as Chile is long as a country. Chile is only around 4,250 kilometers from the northernmost to southernmost point. It looks like we have someone snorkeling or diving out in the water next to this beach in the northwestern edge of Hanga Roa. Again, like I mentioned earlier, there is very little sand on the island, so most of the swimming holes are going to be man-made or completely rock. But I also wanted to note that Tristan da Cunha, which is a completely isolated island in the middle of the South Atlantic Ocean, does compete with Easter Island for the title of world's most isolated island. And it's definitely more difficult to access as it doesn't have an airport. And thus it's a 1 week long journey from South Africa by boat or 2 weeks from Argentina. But in terms of pure distance from another settlement of more than 100 residents, Easter Island takes the cake as the furthest away. It is, however, not too difficult to access, as there's around 8 or 9 flights per week from Santiago. Yes, the flight is around 5.5 hours long. We really are in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. But if you don't want to arrive through the LATAM flight from Santiago, the only other way to get here is by cruise ship. There's around 30 to 40 cruise ships that stop here on world tours. But as I'm sure you can imagine, it's a long way to get here from just about anywhere. You're talking a week on the open ocean from the nearest inhabited settlement. And with weather conditions always up in the air, many of the cruise ships that go on long journeys to stop here never actually land. This appears to be a nice soccer field. Pre-COVID-19, there were also weekly flights from Papeete, which is Tahiti in French Polynesia. That flight would take around 5 hours, but ever since COVID, that flight has shut down, and Santiago is the only connection to the outside world. And if you want to stay connected, even in a place as remote as Easter Island, it's never been easier or cheaper than with Airolo, today's sponsor. Trusted by more than 20 million travelers worldwide, Airolo is the leading eSIM store that offers prepaid data plans in over 200 destinations, including regional and global plans if you plan on visiting several countries in the same trip, which is what I did in South America, visiting 5 countries. Rather than having to find a physical SIM in each place I went, I just downloaded the Airolo app, chose the Latin America plan, and then installed and activated my eSIM to be instantly connected. And considering how small Hangaroa is, I doubt I even would have been able to find a physical SIM. So next time you plan a trip, download the free Airolo app by scanning the QR code or clicking the first link in the description, and use my promo code from here to there to get $3 off your first eSIM. That's right, install the Airolo app free today and use my promo code from here to there to be instantly connected almost anywhere in the world. Yes, even on the most remote island on Earth. But we have now arrived at one of the main boat docks, as fishing is still a huge part of the economy here. Apparently there is delicious tuna. I cannot wait to try the ceviche. Oh, there's diving here. Yeah. I've heard you can actually dive down and see a lot of the Moai statues which have been buried underneath the water, as yes, there's close to 1,000 on the island, but it's only a fraction of all of the statues that at one point existed on this island. But continuing up from this plaza in Hangaroa, we have Te Moana, as well as Neua's specialty coffee, Rapa Nui. I wonder if coffee is able to be grown on the island. I feel like it has a similar climate to Hawaii, but in the southern hemisphere. And in my opinion, Hawaii has the best coffee on planet Earth. And then over here, I guess, yeah, they do different Rapa Nui dances and shows. Mana Maohi. I love how they misspelled theater, and it's still printed on this. But next to that little theater, we have Playa Poco Poco, which is one of the nicest parks. I do not believe there is any sand at this beach, even though it's called a playa, but it's a nice area to have your kids or dog run around in, relax, and enjoy calm waters of the Pacific Ocean. Wow. It is crazy to me that I'm walking around this island that is so far from pretty much any other human civilization. And then you have rocks jutting out of the island that are likely at least a few hundred years old. Which makes me wonder, why and how was this remote island even settled in the first place? Why is so little known about the island's history? And how did the population drop from over 15,000 to just 100 before increasing again to over 8,000 today? Well, my host Brian, a local school teacher who moved here from Chile some 10 years ago, is going to get into that. But I also wanted to show you that Playa Poco Poco does have some sand after all. We are now reaching the northern edge of town. If we continue up this way, perhaps another kilometer or so, we will be on the outskirts of town. I'm going to head back and then cut across inland to the main street, Avenue Atanu Tekena, who was the penultimate king. And as this town is a lot more built up with a wider footprint than most towns of just 8,000 residents, let's show you how the island has pretty much everything you need to survive, while also telling you who those 8,000 residents are. Now, all of the streets technically do have names. I don't see any signs depicting the names, but this main drag along the coast is Policarpo Toro. I am now turning onto Tu'u Maheke, And this sign here says if there's a tsunami, you should evacuate up this street as it likely leads to higher ground. I wonder if a tsunami has ever hit Easter Island. In front of me, however, is Banco Estado, as we see a four-wheeler driving on the main road, as many of the roads in town are completely dirt or even off-road. Now, this bank is one of only 2 banks on the entire island. The ATMs are open 24/7. However, the actual main branch is only open from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Mondays through Fridays. That is going to be a reoccurring theme here, is that many of the businesses and services, which you would expect to have many different branches of in a regular city or town, you are only going to have 1 or potentially 2 here. There's only 1 gas station in town, there are 0 chain stores in town, there are 0 traffic lights in town, and there's only a handful of pharmacies and grocery stores. This beautiful park is called Plaza Rio Cainga. And that's one thing I've noticed just walking around. There is so much beautiful green space. I want to see who Rio Cainga was. I think this is a plaque dedicated to him. Oh, I guess he was the final king of Rapa Nui. He reigned from 1892 to 1898. Now, I'm gonna go a lot more in depth about the Rapa Nui as I talk about the history of this island, but basically they were Polynesian explorers who first discovered Easter Island sometime between 400 and 800 AD. Currently, 45.3% of the population identifies as Rapa Nui. The rest of the population are either mainland Chileans or their Easter Island born descendants. The estimated population of Easter Island is currently 8,600. And although the population is small, the island itself is also very small. So the population density is actually 52.5 people per square kilometer. But this here is the main street, Atamu Tekena. Across from me is one of the pharmacies in town. And we are going to walk north toward the main services of the island. Hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Viven acá?
Sí.
¿Cuál es tu nombre?
Tekena.
Tekena. Eres Rapa Nui también.
Soy Rapanui, mitad chilena. Lo más importante de Rapanui es nuestra cultura que nos dejaron nuestros antepasados.
Sí.
Y la libertad que tenemos aquí, naturaleza,
Sí.
mar, Moai.
¿Y has estado en Chile también? ¿O?
Sí, he estado en altos lugares, pero no hay como casa. La diferencia que tenemos con otros lugares del mundo, primero que cada uno siempre tiene que querer sus raíces, la cultura, la lengua en Rapanui.
¿Y hablas Rapa Nui, el idioma?
Sí.
Oh, wow.
Yo la Coruga Tatoa, Maururu Teuimai, Tajiaroga, que vi. Yo dije, hola a todos, ¿cómo están? Gracias por escucharme y mando un fuerte abrazo y saludo a ti, a Mango.
¿Qué es la significa de ser Rapa Nui para ti?
Para mí ser Rapanui es ser una persona afortunada, con mucha suerte, tener una cultura hermosa, maravillosa, una lengua ancestral como nuestro Moai. Para mí también ser Rapanui es ser feliz, siempre.
¿Te sientes atrapado aquí
¿No?
porque es muy remoto?
No, todos los días hay algo nuevo. Ni siquiera en pandemia, cuando hubo COVID en el mundo,
Sí.
no tuvimos aviones
Por 2 años, ¿no?
por 2 años y aún así éramos felices.
¿Qué prefieres este?
Sí, creo que sí, porque es una lección de vida para nosotros. Plantar nuestra comida, no depender mucho de los supermercados, ¿ya? Y el dinero.
¿Con qué frecuencia te vas Rapa Nui?
Bueno, una vez al año. Yo amo estar aquí en Rapanui.
¿Solo a Santiago? O?
A la Polinesia, Tahití.
Tahití.
Sí, mi marido es de allá.
Pero es muy lejos sin el vuelo, ¿no?
Claro, pero vienen charter de repente, aviones, una vez al año.
¿Por qué no hay mucha gente acá? ¿Hay suficiente gente para todos los trabajos? Construcción y electricidad.
Bueno, hoy día no. Igual siempre hay mucho turismo. Aparecen muchas oportunidades de trabajo y no siempre alcanzamos a cubrir todas las necesidades de trabajo. Entonces siempre falta la mano de obra.
¿Podrías imaginar vivir en una ciudad grande?
Tendría que tener mucho dinero. Porque tendría que
¿Es
ir
posible
todos los días
para
al
ti?
mall, todos los días al cine y así podría vivir en un lugar. Pero creo que no. La paz, caminar en la calle libre, sin que te roben, sin que te maten, la delincuencia, muy difícil. Aunque sea en cualquier lado del mundo existe. Y aquí es muy tranquilo.
¿Cómo consiguen todo lo que necesitan acá?
Bueno, generalmente llegan aviones y barcos.
¿Por aviones? ¿Con los turistas o solo?
Tú vienes arriba como turista y abajo viene la carga de nosotros.
Oh, ¿en serio?
Ahora es una vez al día.
¿Y por barco es?
Por barco es una vez al mes, pero vienen 3 barcos.
¿Todos es más caro? ¿Por qué eso?
Generalmente lo que es más caro es porque viene por avión. ¿ya?
Por avión, pero por barco es
un poco más barato.
Oh.
Pero igual la isla tiene verduras locales, fruta local, pescado local, carne local, que es mucho más barato.
Perfecto, muchas gracias.
Vale, Vi. ¿Te vaya bien?
Sí, nos vemos. Well, that was a great talk with Tekena, which has been indicative of all of my interactions on Easter Island so far. Everyone is just so warm and welcoming. But as you were probably able to tell there, not many people speak English unless they work in tourism. Spanish is obviously the primary language here, as it is a part of Chile. But the Rapa Nui language is still spoken by around 1,000 people today. Now, it's a miracle that so much of the Rapa Nui culture has held on, because as recently as 1877, the island's population was killed down to 111 inhabitants. Only 36 of those 111 people had descendants, and today all of the Rapa Nui natives owe their ancestry from one of those 36 people. Now, it appears the main street is starting to turn into a bit more residential. Oh, there's a beautiful little churro restaurant. But yes, as I mentioned earlier, the island has been growing exceptionally fast, mainly due to immigration from mainland Chile. In 1982, the total population was only around 1,936 residents. By 2002, that number was 3,791. By 2012, it was 5,761. And when this current census is released, 2025, I'd expect that number to be close to 9,000. Here we have statues. On the left is a Tamu Tekena, who was the king when Rapa Nui was annexed by Chile. And this is Policarpo Toro, who is the Chilean naval officer who negotiated to take possession of the island in 1888. There is such a long and fascinating history about this island. I'm also quite surprised at how many trees are here, considering this was a treeless island just a couple hundred years ago. Now, if you're wondering what the weather is, it is pretty consistent every day, around 24 to 25 degrees. The highs and lows do not change much. 25 degrees Celsius is 77 degrees Fahrenheit, but when the sun is high in the sky, we are quite close to the equator at 28 degrees south. It's hot. That is the west coast we were just walking up. If I were to continue some 2 kilometers this way, I would reach the eastern outskirts of Hangaroa. The town itself is not very big, but as we are leaving the commercial side of town and entering the more residential, 20.9% of Easter Island is between the ages of 0 and 14, so quite a few kids. Only 6.2% of the population is over the age of 65, so very few retirees. And then 72.9% of the population is considered working age between the ages of 15 and 64. There is no official mean age, but the mean age in Chile is 36.9 years. And Easter Island residents tend to be younger on average, so the number is probably below 36.9. Now this is Pepeka, a little outdoor galleria. Yeah, it's very built up here, I have to say. The businesses, the establishments, they're quite nice. Here we have a toy store. This is a crepe and waffle cafe. Looks like we have a hair salon, a nail salon, and all sorts of shampoos and whatnot. Now, 50.9% of Hangaroa is female, 49.1% is male. The unemployment rate in the town is 4.92%, and the GDP per capita is $16,800. So it's 6% less than the overall Chile GDP per capita of $17,900. Now, I couldn't find exact cost of living numbers, but it's quite a bit more expensive here than in the mainland. As apart from the fruits and animal products that come from the island, almost everything needs to be imported. Because of this, the poverty rate is actually 19%, but this is a lot lower than it was some 30 years ago when it was 45%. But this here is the lone church on Easter Island. It's called the Parroquia de la Santa Cruz, or the Church of Rapa Nui. It was originally established back in 1937, but this modern building was built in 1949. Now, the actual town of Hanga Roa isn't that old. The Rapa Nui used to live all across this island. Oh, I guess there's a little service going on right now. It is Wednesday at 7 p.m. I believe this is a Catholic service. You can see on the map where I am right now. I am toward the center. This is Hanga Roa, where my finger's going around. And then the rest of the island is quite rural, and a lot of it consists of the national parks, which need a guide in order to enter. Now, this building is the Brother Eugenio Colegio Católico, a Catholic college. The building has certainly seen better days. And then straight ahead is going to be the Easter Island Hospital. So yes, many things here are going to be quite expensive, even compared to the US, but technically you never need to leave the island, as it does have all of the basic services and amenities that one would require. Now, this here is the hospital itself. It has a 16-bed capacity and is actually a pretty nice building. Now, obviously the hospital only does basic care. For more serious injuries or specific care, patients have to be flown to Santiago. But first impressions of this island is it's actually very developed, considering the small population as well as how remote it is. Also, would it really be an island in Chile if you didn't have horses just grazing on the side of the road? But apart from the people employed at the hospital as well as other government institutions, the main drivers of the economy here are agriculture, fishing, and of course tourism, with around 100,000 visitors coming to the island every year now, compared to just 2,000 back in the 1980s. Would it really be a Pacific island if you didn't have wild chickens? But Brian, my host, just messaged me that he's ready to show me around the island, as well as take me to a very cool spot for sunset. So let's go there now. So this is Brian, my host. What are you making right now?
A tuaba juice. I found them in the street. The typical fruits here are mangoes, tuabas, maracuya, pineapples.
Let's try it.
Eat them.
That's really good, yeah.
There is a free grocery.
Okay.
And here we have some mangoes from French Polynesia. So we're making a tour around this house. There are many families here. They have a nice community together in a fraternity. All your neighbors are Rapanui. I came here 10 years. I finished my studies as an English teacher in the 7th region, and now I'm involved in some schools. There are 4 principal schools here. I teach right now to the adults and also to the kids in the primary.
Primary school, yeah.
For the university, they have to go to the continent, and they have benefits. If you are here and you finish, you can go to Valparaiso to study there.
So they'll like pay for your school almost.
Yes. Also for the Rapanui people, they have many benefits. For flying, they have discount.
And so what's this horse's name here?
Oh, I don't know.
You don't know?
How it's called because it's from the neighbor. But a white animal you can call Tea. Tea is white. He's our
lawnmower.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to move here in the first place? Just for school, or?
Because my brother was here and he told me, hey, you can catch whatever opportunity. Then I discovered a really nice quality of life. You can move freely. There are no many rules like in the continent. There are toxic influences like TV shows or the news. And also you have all the elements here. For example, you can wake up and go for swimming in the morning. There are some banana trees. That is Ika in Rapanui, banana.
So how many times did you visit the island before you moved here?
I didn't.
You didn't visit at all, you just moved sight unseen.
Just I moved it, I decided to stay here because I got some job. There were lack of teachers.
Here.
So I decided to be involved in the community, to teach them. They were so kind with me. We do many things to make a good environment, a good life. Our government is more independent than Chile. They are not so much.
There's a lot more freedom here, you're saying.
Yeah. Also, they wanted to not be like part of the Chile. But Chile understand, I think so. He decided to give whatever specific thing they wanted, and that's it.
So the relationship between the Rapa Nui and Chile now is quite good, you say?
It's really, really good. Old times, there were terrible periods. Oppression. Nowadays, the relationship with Chile is a really nice support to increase this community.
Yeah.
It's a really mysterious island. Moai means many things, as all the other words in Rapa Nui. Depends how you use them.
And do you speak any Rapa Nui?
Oh, for example, Iorana, Yao he maori happy, o te vanagna paratane. I am an English teacher, I said. Maururu is like thank you. Rapa Nui language is from the Maori Polynesia language universal. So with French Polynesia, Maori from New Zealand, they are really connected. Also, right now it's raining, but doesn't bother. There are some heavy rain, but you used to. So now we are going to go in a room.
Perfect, let's go. So this whole space here is shared?
Yeah, she's the owner. She's so shy.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do taxi driving.
Do a lot of people here kind of take on multiple roles, multiple jobs?
That's one of the most marvelous things. You discover yourself in an economic way, or internal, external.
So could you ever imagine living anywhere else?
I think this is comfortable for me. I can travel to anywhere and then I came here to relax. I cannot say that is my home because it's not by my roots, you know. I am not Rapa Nui. Nowadays, globalization, there aren't many 100% Rapa Nui people, so they are mixing. But the most important is to care about the island, support the culture, respect the traditions. I like the simple things. We don't complex so much. No drugs, for example.
Yeah.
Well, alcohol here is a really good problem. It's not a really good problem.
So a lot of people have alcohol addiction here?
Yeah, alcohol here is a terrible problem.
Yeah.
All they like to party, all they want to go drink, but they don't have limits.
Do you think that has to do with the fact that it's so isolated here and people might feel trapped?
I think yeah, but it's not a thought. I feel.
So you never feel like you're stuck on an island?
Oh yeah.
You do feel that?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
There are opportunities to find low prices on a flight, but I know people, they don't want to travel to, I don't know, explore more. They are comfortable here.
So how often do you leave the island?
I try to go twice a year. South America, but I would like to visit Europe. I'm so interested because many people here, they invite you also to their country so you can motivate yourself to explore.
Yeah, if you ever want to come to the US.
I would like to go to Estados Unidos because I know many people from United States. They are so friendly. I love United States people. I would like to go to Hawaii or French Polynesia. I like island style. I don't like metropolis.
So you can never see yourself living in a big city again?
For a little while, maybe for a rave, or if you invite me for, I don't know, whatever.
But you can never live?
Live? Not in a big city because you wake up with the stress. But here there are some mental issues, some family problems, a little violence, but it's like 80 and 20%. 80% happy, 20% a little stress. In the continent is the opposite. They are all stressed. Now we are in a ceremonial area. It's called Ahutahai. There are some moais in some platforms.
You said it means the platform of the spirits?
Yeah, all the ancestral people are buried down the platform. At the left, they are old, more than the other. Is at the right, it has coral eyes. And if you can see, there are many people from around the world visiting this tiny part of this world.
Do you like that there's a lot of people who visit all the time?
Yeah. In pandemic time, we were so trapped, like in a bubble, 2 years and a half, without tourists.
And were you stuck here too? You couldn't leave during pandemic?
We couldn't. So we were so comfortable, but kind of in a bubble. There were lack of resources, gasoline or the gas for the home.
There's only one gas station, right?
Yeah.
Is the price of gas regulated?
It's regulated. I don't know how specifically how it's
Yeah,
it's
but during the
system.
pandemic, it was very expensive.
It was expensive as all the other products, food, or you cannot find the product you used to. Also, we canceled the classes, but here you don't have good internet, so for the students it was very difficult to study.
So what did you do for work during the pandemic?
Tourism was down, so many people here lost their jobs, but the benefits of the pandemic times, they became to the roots, to care about their kids, their family, to see internal things, fix their houses, but the salary was less, you know?
Do you know around what the average rent is?
The rent, well, depend of the place is 500,
500 US?
no, 500,000 pesos chilenos.
Okay, so about 500 US dollars.
It's kind of, yes,
Yeah.
a month. You can find in 400, but 300 is like really small
Yeah.
room.
I read a thing, it's illegal for a non-native to own property? Is
Yes,
that-
it's illegal. Only you can have an arrangement with them, civil arrangement. All the island is already divided by the families we live here.
Yeah.
But you can be married with a girl, with a man.
I guess talking about how during COVID there was a lot of things you couldn't get. In general, is there anything you miss from the mainland?
I think I miss the musical events, more people you can visit, or my other part of the family, or you can know that you can go far away to visit another country. But here you are limited, yes?
So you do really feel trapped sometimes here.
Sometimes you don't live here as a tourist. You don't say, okay, where are going to go today? No, here is like what I have to do today.
So if there was no airport here and you had to go by boat, could you still live here?
Yeah, I will.
You would?
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
I will. Yeah, you can take 1 week almost going on a boat. But it's fantastic or really impressive when you see you are out of the continent to nowhere, like to the ocean, and there is nothing but a really small island full of wonderful things.
Yeah, and look at the sunset right now behind the statues. Wow. What do you think is the biggest misconception about Easter Island?
I think a lot of people plan for 3 and 5 days, and I think it's not enough. And some people stay here, they get a job.
And some people stay here 10 years, like
Yes, the rules here, you can stay as a tourist 30 days, but if you get a job, you can stay as the contract says.
So that's something I wanted to ask. I've seen the population's growing pretty fast.
There are a lot of people from Chile, and the government want to control that because it's a little bit out of control. They are catching the people who are not with contract or people who are like illegal.
So there's people here illegally.
There are people illegally.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They pass over the 30 days
And they just don't go home.
and they don't
just stay
home.
here.
But also there are police and investigation looking for those people.
Speaking of police, is there much crime here?
I think nowadays less. People don't steal here. Don't lock the door. There isn't vandalism so much. So you can feel really secure here. You can put your bag, then your bag is there when you come back.
You said you have a daughter?
I got a daughter.
You have a daughter? Do you never feel worried for her just running around by herself?
Not really, because I know how the people is. It's a really special and good place for kids. Really quiet, you feel secure as I said. No cell phone, no things you distract so much. You are in contact with the nature. Also we emphasize the sports. Yeah, running, surfing, volleyball, football, whatever sport. Free to be in a team. Also Rapanui gens, because they eat a lot of tuna fish, Rapanui bodies, so strong. You can go on a boat deep to the ocean there, eat some tuna fish or bigger, just you throw the hook and you got a fish already.
Yeah. Really? There's
It's
that many
really
fish?
simple. Yes, here in Rapanui they eat a lot of fish.
Is your favorite thing about Rapa Nui the ocean?
Oh, the sunset, the ocean, the air. That is
Yeah,
so
smells
clean,
good.
and the star and the moon over there.
Oh wow, full moon.
There
I just
you go.
realized. That is beautiful.
And also you can see a sunrise in the other part. Yeah, it's a full moon. That is a little problem also. The dogs are a little aggressive. They are so territorial.
Yeah.
Mostly are tourists here. It's a nice place to be, but local people, they use it only for celebrations or ceremonial. Let's go to the Moai. Not all the Moais has eyes.
So is this a newer one with the eyes?
Yeah, to demonstrate how it is with the corals. When a Moai has coral eyes, it says it's alive. The spirit, it's alive. The island here has a different energy because it's made of volcanoes. The principal rock is obsidiana, really
Obsidian,
masculine energy. The vibration here is different.
Yeah, and being so far from the rest of the world, there's like no pollution. I think the word I would use is pure. It feels very pure.
Pure.
Here. Yeah, beautiful eyes.
I think tomorrow we have a sunny day.
I saw the tsunami warning things. Has there ever been a tsunami here? Or hurricane?
No hurricane, no tsunami, like strong tsunamis, not so far than here. The safety point is the church, but the water has never come so up.
And now we're getting a beautiful starry sky. Wow.
They are appearing. Here you will see the stars completely with the universe.
Yeah. So we're going to a restaurant right now, and what's one thing that you said you missed from the continent?
They are the prices.
So it's a lot more expensive here.
Yeah, for example, fair fruits is 3,000 pesos per kilo. The continent you can have for 1,000.
It is now the following day. School is in session, as you can see. I believe this is the elementary school. But now that I've had some time to reflect on the emotions that this island evokes in me, being so far removed from the rest of the world just creates this immense sense of freedom here that I haven't felt many places. And despite, or perhaps because of that, every single person I've interacted with has been so welcoming. And I'm gonna let Juan Jose, the local barista at the cafe that I went to this morning, explain a bit more about that.
I'm from Rancagua, Santiago.
So near Santiago?
Yeah.
This is Magdalena. Where are you from in Chile?
Santiago.
So why did you guys decide to move to Easter Island?
For the vibes. It's really nice to move from the city to something so remote because the city is really awful. The people here, all the people are nice. People treat you like one of them.
And how long have you lived here now?
Well, last year I was here March to November and then I came back yesterday.
Oh, you just moved back. Okay.
Yeah.
So you go back to Santiago for the summer.
Yeah, here it's like all family. It's really cool that I be part of the culture.
And have you felt the same?
Yes, it's a magic place
Yeah. And why did you move here? For the same reason?
for the experience.
¿Por cuánto tiempo estás aquí?
3 months.
You think you'll live here for a while?
Sí,
Oh,
estoy
okay.
pensando seriamente en quedarme aquí.
You guys both can't see yourself moving back to Santiago.
It's really difficult to differences.
Yeah.
You know?
What are some things that you maybe miss from the city though?
McDonald's.
So chain restaurants,
Yeah.
okay.
Because here it's only like
Fish.
food. Yeah, fish, house
Polynesian
and,
food.
and that's all. I miss like Big Mac, something like that, KFC.
Yeah.
You know,
I've heard Dunkin' Donuts is really popular here.
because there's no Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
All the people call from here to the airport like, can you bring me, I don't know, 6 donuts from the airport?
Have you left the island at all in the time you lived here?
I left the island like 3 times.
So do you think you could live here if you didn't travel?
No, I
It's
think,
too remote?
because it's so small and I don't know the
So you get like island fever after being here a bit?
yeah, it's
Okay.
like phobia to the island.
Are the job opportunities, do they pay the same as Santiago?
No,
Or?
no, it's better money.
Oh, better here. Oh.
Everything here is it's expensive. So people that give you jobs, they give you more money than Santiago. You
Okay.
can do the same thing in Santiago, but they pay you more money. It's really nice money.
The population's increasing quite fast. Why do you think so many people from the mainland are moving here?
Rapa Nui, it's getting people that's not from Chile. A lot of people from Europe, especially French people, New Zealand, all that kind of places came here and live here. Switzerland, they moved here because it's remote. They like the vibe from living in this place. This
Yeah.
is the island. They like it. I don't know why.
What do you do for fun while you're here?
You can do everything. You're a free person. You can swim, surfing. You can go see the Moais. You can eat a lot of things. Meet people like this.
Yeah.
Here the vibes is so good that you meet people. You go to the parties.
So people are very friendly and open to just talk to
Yeah.
anyone here.
Everyone, because it's like the vibe of the island. If you look the cafeteria, all of them are tourists, like you. So it's really nice. You know, all the people just for this. They like to talk and learn. That's my favorite thing from the island.
El clima, me encanta sudar.
Es perfecto, no?
No.
A
No?
mí
I
me
hate the
encanta.
weather here.
Ah,
We go like this all the year here. The winter is only rainy, but this is still this heat. It's really weird.
Awesome. Muchas gracias.
Mauro.
I am now in a more residential side of Hangaroa, about 2 blocks north of the airport runway. The airplanes actually land right there in front of that little hill. Here is a wet dirt track, which is what many of the streets in Hangaroa look like. I am going to be renting a 4x4 car to explore more of the island. But speaking of the cafe, while it was delicious, it was also quite a bit more expensive than mainland Chile. For a coffee, I paid probably between $5 and $6 US. The sandwich I got was around $9 or $10 US. So I'd say pretty similar to US prices and around 30 to 40% more expensive than mainland Chile. Yes, the island is very remote and tiny even compared to a place like Hawaii, where I would likely get island fever after living for a year or two. But when you consider all the life and beauty of Rapa Nui, you almost don't mind. And just up the road are all sorts of residential homes next to the airport. Yes, this is the Aeropuerto Mataveri. It was up there with the smallest airport I've ever stepped foot in, at least one that can handle actual planes and not just propeller flights. As I mentioned earlier, Santiago is the only flight to Rapa Nui. It's a 5.5-hour flight. There used to be a flight to Tahiti, and there are talks to bring it back. But as of right now, even if you want to go from Polynesia to here, which should only be around a 5-hour flight, you have to go all the way around to South America and then back halfway across the Pacific Ocean to Easter Island. Oh, and I think I can actually walk directly up to the runway. Yeah, I can. It looks like the LATAM flight has just landed. That is a big, big plane. It's taller, I think, than any building on this island. They're refueling it. Now, this airport is actually the most isolated airport on planet Earth. It's so remote that there's only allowed to be one plane at the airport at a single time, just in case a different plane needs to divert, as the nearest diversion point is over 2,000 miles away. And the reason this airport is so wide that massive planes are able to land here, like the Boeing 787 that I arrived on, is because it was originally designed as an abort point for the US space shuttle back in the 1980s. Let's go inside real quick and show you a little around the airport. This is the security terminal. Definitely feels like a tropical island airport, but it also is a lot smaller than the ones I've been to in Hawaii. We got a little gift shop. And then over in this section is where the flights arrive, and then you have to put your bags through the machine before stepping outside into Hanga Roa. Now, my flight to Easter Island wasn't all that expensive. It was around $350 round trip from Santiago. I booked maybe 2-3 weeks in advance. But to show you a little more of what the local prices on the island are like, directly next to the airport is one of the main supermarkets. I misspoke. So the supermarket is another block down. Over here is the only gas station on the island. Let's see what the gas prices are like. Diesel is $1,300, so that's around $1.40 per liter, a little over $5 per gallon of diesel. And then petrol is even more expensive, about $1.70 per liter, $6.50 per gallon. So yes, gas is a lot more expensive than in the mainland of Chile. But here, the next street over, we have Supermercado, as well as a few other stores. So yeah, that building right there is the gas station. There's a medicine shop. Caja Los Andes is a social services organization, and then this is a pharmacy directly next to a supermarket. So let's go inside and show you a bit of the prices. Let us. So you walk in, it looks like you got your cold drinks, your snacks. Oh, you even have like boxers and bras and socks. Oh, there's like office chairs, and so I guess the island is so small, you probably need the grocery store to be like a department store of sorts. Yeah, towels. Let's see how much a towel costs. 13, wow, this towel is $15 US basically. A trash bin is, holy, this cheap plastic trash bin, over $20 US. Prices are quite a bit more than I was expecting. Shampoo or Dove conditioner, about $4 US. And then on this side, we got cups and kitchen appliances. Regular plastic ladle. About $4.50. That's not terrible. Oh wow, they really have a lot of stuff here. Even kids, like coloring supplies. But yeah, there's probably not many shops on the island, and there are a lot of kids on the island. So like Brian was saying, where a lot of people have to take up many different jobs, how he's even a taxi driver at times, I guess stores have to sell all sorts of goods. This little coloring book is about $3 US. Sharpies are about $3.50 for 4. Now let's go look at the grocery store section. So here we have mini baguettes, 4 of them for about $2 US. Fruit juice is $2.70. Bottle of water is about $1.30. The milk is going to be around $2.50 for a liter. Pasta sauce is a little over $2 for a little bag like this. Pasta, I guess for a normal like fettuccine bag, $1.50. Bag of rice would be about $3. Canola oil is about $4 US. And I don't see a non-frozen meat section. I would imagine all of the meat, you either have to go to a local market with meat off the island, or it's going to be frozen, like these fillets de pollo. There's no price tag on this. And there was no price tag on the eggs either. Disculpa, ¿cuánto cuesta 6 huevos?
2006 o 2008.
2008. Vale, gracias. So that comes out to around $3 US for 6 eggs. So yes, on average, the prices for certain items were very expensive, as we see one of the ambulances on the island. But considering just how remote the island is, nothing seemed that crazy. But if you're wondering how this island even formed in the first place and how people managed to stumble upon it, despite it taking up just 0.0001% of the Pacific Ocean, the island originally formed from volcanic activity under the Pacific Ocean around 700,000 years ago. In the beginning, there were actually lots of trees that grew up to as high as 15 meters tall. As we see Arena Bar, another restaurant. There are so many restaurants on this island. But yeah, this is the southernmost point of Hanga Roa. Behind that fence is all wilderness. No one really knows when the first humans arrived here, but most estimates put it somewhere between the year 400 and 800 AD, when Polynesians from the Gambier Islands in French Polynesia, around 2,600 kilometers to the west, first arrived. Oh, and I guess there's a second gas station. So my research said there was only one, and I think the prices, if I remember correctly, they are exactly the same. Although this one also has a little mini market. Now, most of the iconic Moai statues, including the ones we saw for sunset yesterday, were carved between the years 1250 and 1500 AD. A lot of the history about them is quite mysterious, but they may have once been regarded as the embodiment of either powerful living or former chiefs. And the population actually hit its peak of around 15,000 residents sometime in the 16th century. Now, as the islands are so remote, there was no real trade connection with the rest of the Polynesian or South American world. So the island basically had to support the population by itself. 15,000 people was a lot for an island this small, and a new rat species, which is introduced from a different Polynesian island, likely consumed many of the crops and seeds, deforesting Easter Island. Today, there have been some trees replanted, but by 1600, there were estimated that no trees were actually left on the island. This meant that the Rapa Nui had no new supplies to build or repair ships, which were vital for fishing. So with the diminished food supply, a new warrior class took over, and sadly, a lot of the Moai statues were destroyed over the following century. Now, on April 5th, 1722, which was actually Easter Sunday that year, and why the island has its name, Easter Island, the first European explorer, Jacob Roggeveen, arrived. He estimated the Rapa Nui population was under 3,000, 20% of what it was a century prior. No future explorers arrived, and the Rapa Nui were left alone for the next 50 years or so. But in the 1770s and 1780s, 4 new European explorers visited the island, including James Cook and the French explorer Jean-Francois de Gallup, who was the first man to make a detailed map. And whoa, look at that! The LATAM flight has just landed. Now, that volcano on the southern tip of the island is called Rano Kau. I am going to show you guys into the crater. But apart from being a stop for whalers and sealing vessels after being included in most modern maps, the Rapa Nui were mostly left alone until 1862 and 1863, when Peruvian slave raiders abducted or killed 1,500 locals from Easter Island. This sadly included many of the chiefs and high-ranking elders who had knowledge of the history of the island, as well as to read the Rango Rango script, which was the only ancient writing system found in the Polynesian world. 99% of the Rapa Nui who were brought to South America actually died of disease or maltreatment, and only 15 ever returned to Easter Island. When they did, smallpox was introduced, decimating even more of the remaining population, as these horses look like they are starting to run up the road. I think these are wild horses, actually. But as I'm sure you can imagine, a lot of the island's culture, history, and genealogy was lost. Oh wow, look at that. The horses are really running. But sadly, things for the Rapa Nui would only get worse. In 1864, Eugene A. Road, who was a Christian missionary, was the first European to live with the Rapa Nui. Oh wow, look at this statue over here. This one's probably the tallest one I've seen so far. Ahu Riata. Beautiful statue in this idyllic little harbor. But Eugene A. Road converted the entire island to Catholicism by 1868. There was an epidemic of tuberculosis the same year, however, which actually killed Eugene A. Road, as well as 270 of the remaining 1,200 Rapa Nui. A French mariner, Jean-Baptiste du Trot-Bornier, then bought the majority of the island besides for the missionaries area, and he moved most of the remaining Rapa Nui to Tahiti to work for his financial backers who owned plantations in Tahiti. By 1877, there were only 111 people who still lived on Easter Island, and only 36 of those Rapa Nui were able to have descendants. Now, the Rapa Nui population has slowly increased since then. Almost all of them can trace their genealogy back to those 36 people who had kids. But with over 97% of the population dead or gone in less than a decade, most of the island's culture was lost. Now, the reason any of the Rapa Nui culture has been able to survive is likely due to Alexander Salmon deciding to move and buy most of the land on Easter Island in 1876. He had just inherited a Tahitian farm with many Rapa Nui on it, and he decided to bring them back to Easter Island. Salmon was the ruler of this island for 10 years, but he then sold the island to Chile in 1888. Look at this over here. Looks like an abandoned car and an abandoned boat. I know in remote islands in other parts of the world, a lot of the time it's cheaper to just leave an abandoned car where it is than to try to have it scrapped for parts. That might be what has happened here, although the houses next to it are quite aesthetic. Now, originally the Rapa Nui lived all throughout the island. A couple of the national parks have some ruins of old settlements, but on September the 9th of 1888, this town, Hanga Roa, was officially created, and all of the Rapa Nui were forced to live here. The rest of the island at the time was leased as a sheep farm and closed off to the Rapa Nui, and that was just the start of many injustices that the Rapa Nui would then face. Now, in 1966, the Chilean government finally granted the Rapa Nui Chilean citizenship. In 1967, Easter Island's airport was built, which allowed for the transportation of goods to and from the island, as well as tourism, to increase. And that same year, the military actually took control of the island and invested in many of the facilities that we see here today. Many of the locals feel like they were wronged by the Chilean government, and there is still conflict today, but many of the Moai statues are in the national park and thus protected now. Ever since COVID, you need a local Rapa Nui guide to be able to enter one of these national parks. And in 2017, the ancestral lands were finally returned to the Rapa Nui people. And over from this angle, you can see the outline of the volcanoes that make up Rapa Nui. I know these ones look taller, but I think the highest point is actually this one over here, Terra Vaca, 507 meters above sea level. And while a Rapa Nui native and local guide is going to take me around some of the archaeological sites in just a few moments, even in the town of Hangaroa, there are plenty of free Moai statues and all sorts of archaeological sites that you don't need a guide or national park pass to enter. The entrance fee to the national park is around $80 US. It's valid for 10 days once you buy your ticket. But here we have Ahu Tahai, beautiful structures. We actually went here with Brian last night. Now, I believe this was originally a village between 150 and 200 people, as well as the site of many ceremonies. And then down here to the left of these statues is a beautiful rocky beach, and you see those thunderous waves. Oh, and I guess on the other side of these statues, there's a traditional dance or photo shoot in, yeah, it looks like there's a photo shoot going on with the traditional outfits. Interesting. So cool. And what a shot of the land where the giants walked. I am now at Ranuraraku, which is the volcanic quarry where all of the rock that the Moai statues were carved out of was taken from. But while my plan was originally to have a Rapa Nui native take me around a few of the archaeological sites, as well as tell me a little bit about what it means to be Rapa Nui for him, very early on in the tour, it was quite apparent that he didn't really like tourists visiting the island, and he didn't really want to share what life is like there. Well, our tour of the archaeological sites on the island certainly took a turn. I am currently at Akaranga, which is where Hatamatea was believed to have first landed. He was the first king of Easter Island, and legend has it that every single Rapa Nui is one of their descendants. But our tour is not going to continue because there was a bit of an altercation. An old lady wasn't really getting along with the guide, and the guide didn't speak much English. Eventually, he grabbed her phone and threw it on the ground. Now the police are coming. We've been waiting for around an hour, and apparently this is quite a common occurrence here on Rapa Nui. There are two other important places where I want to take you, however, one being the lake at the top of a volcano, and the other is Kari Kari, the traditional Rapa Nui dance. So we have just left the outskirts of Hanga Roa. Where are you taking me now, Brian?
We are going up to the volcano. It's next to the town. It's called Volcano. It's one of the volcanoes inactive, and people go there to take some water.
So the water on the island comes from this volcano?
All times, yes. That was the resource they got.
So I can drink, it's safe to drink the water up here?
I suppose yes.
Not really.
Oh no, it's not the greatest.
Oh wow, what a view from up top.
Prepare yourself.
Prepare ourselves for what? Holy, okay. Welcome to Ranokau, a lake in the middle of this volcano. What the heck? This is incredible. So this is where people used to drink water from.
A lot of way to going down.
Yeah, it's a long way.
It's a different dimension. You can see those bush, but they are not bush. They are some big trees.
That's crazy. Yeah, there's trees growing inside the volcano.
And also the favorite trekking here is going around until that top.
Thank you so much, Brian.
If someone tell you, hey, where's your guy?
Yeah.
You can say, you know the track.
I know the track, yeah. Okay.
Feel yourself.
Yeah. Straight ahead is the town of Hangaroa. You can see the west coast of Easter Island to its left. And then you can also see the east coast of Easter Island to its right. I love going about as high of a place as you can go in every place I visit because I feel like it offers you a perspective of the true size and scope of a location that you can't otherwise discover. Like, you can really see why Hangaroa is built where it was. It's the only valley between these three volcanoes that make up Easter Island. And the fact that I'm walking around the caldera blows my frickin' mind. Yes, Easter Island is incredibly remote, but when you consider the magic and beauty of this place, I understand why so many people want to live here. But leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's video. Comment any other suggestions for remote locations you want me to visit next, and I will see you all in around a week for my next adventure. I've been hiking for around an hour now. This is not the same island I was on a few hours ago. I feel an alpine smell in the air. It's cooler, it's windy, and straight ahead is the Pacific Ocean. I have actually reached the edge of Easter Island, the eastern edge. If I were to continue in this direction across the Pacific Ocean, some 3,512 kilometers, I would end up in mainland Chile. If I went south, I don't believe there's anything until Antarctica. If I go north, there is nothing for a long time. And west, if I pick the correct direction, it will be about 2,000 kilometers or so to Pitcairn Island. I still cannot believe I am at the edge of the most isolated island on planet Earth.